Hi students, I want to talk to you about a couple of things in week 8 since I'm not going to be there for a few of our classes, and just view the announcement please to see which classes and what to complete. So if I go into week 8, this week we are starting the analytical report. So far we've completed the service learning project and last week the humanities critical review. And this week we're going to be turning our attention to a couple of other things. One of them is going to be learning about APA format. And so we're going to do an APA scavenger hunt just like we did for the MLA, learning MLA. And then we're going to be looking forward to an analytical report. So the things that we're going to focus on this week are the APA scavenger hunt, completing that by 10:15 at 11:59, and completing an assignment about choosing a topic. So the topic is eventually, not this week, you're not writing the report this week, it's eventually going to be the topic of your analytical report, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about. But for this week, we're just worried about two things: the APA scavenger hunt and the topic homework. So if we look in the submit assignments folder, that is all we will see is the APA scavenger hunt and the topic assignment. Now, this topic assignment asks you to consider items you might compare for your eventual analytical report. Again, the analytical report isn't due for a couple more weeks, so don't focus too much on that right now. Right now, you just want to be thinking about a topic for that report. So this directs you, it says, choose items with which you are quite familiar: foods you often eat, technology you often use, places you visit regularly. So, don't choose things with which you're not familiar. So, like, I wouldn't choose to compare, an Apple, like an iPhone, to an Android phone because I have an Android phone. I'm not used to using an iPhone, so I can't really compare those two things. But maybe you have like a MacBook at home and you're used to using PCs at school, so you might be able to compare those two things. But you want to be familiar with both of the items you're comparing with. It also talks about how these things, your parameters for them is that, this should be concrete and tangible, whatever two things you choose. You should be able to eat it, play it, visit it, etc. So, you could compare, basketball and soccer, playing those two things, or if it's playing it, if it's visiting it, you might try to compare two things that are kind of in the same genre or have the same purpose. Don't compare, you know, um, the Orlando Science Center um, with Target, going to Target or something. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So if you're comparing, Target, you want to find something that's kind of that same genre. So Target versus Walmart, comparing the two of those, or Publix versus Aldi or something like that. Um, and then it says, don't compare abstract items or huge items like governments, religions, those kind of things. We're not going to get into that. We want something that we can actually do, touch, taste, smell, that kind of thing. And it says tasteful and legal. If you wouldn't discuss it in front of your boss or your grandmother, or if it's not legal in the state of Florida, don't choose it. So don't, compare types of marijuana or something like that, because that's not legal or tasteful. So once you have decided on those two items, you're going to write a short reflection about them. So number one says, how are these items alike? And you don't have to do any research for this. Again, if you're familiar with these items, then you should be able to come up with a few ways in which they're alike. Are they used for similar purposes? Are they rivals for each other? Are they often compared in popular culture? What makes them ripe for comparison? So, if I was going to do this, maybe I would do it I really like Thai food. So maybe I would compare, Soong Thai and, or no, Thai Blossom is what it's called, in downtown Winter Garden to Thai Sushi Storm over here in Claremont, thinking about which is best. But again, think about the types of places too. I don't know if I want to tell you to stay away from things that, like I just said, are different. Like I'm thinking Calabria's Pizza Restaurant here, I frequent that quite often too. Maybe I could compare that to another Italian restaurant. But, I probably wouldn't want to compare it to Pizza Hut because even though they're both like Italian food restaurants, they're very different in the type of environments they have and their purpose. One is meant to be fast food and one isn't. So that's a pretty key difference, um, you know, if I was comparing them. So trying to make them kind of relatively in the same ballpark. Um, and what makes them ripe for comparison? This just basically means like what occasion would people want to compare these things for? Why would we compare these things to each other? What purpose would it serve to do so? So that's kind of manufactured because I'm prescribing that you do the comparison. Whereas in real life, these events for comparison or these situations that are ripe for comparison come about because we're going to buy a new laptop. So we want to compare two things, or we want to figure out which one is better. So we compare two things. Um, and that might be the case here is maybe you have to come up with a reason for making this comparison. Maybe you do want to see if one is better than the other for certain things or just how they stack up against each other, so you can recommend one over the other to your audience. Why are these items worth comparing? So, in other words, how are these products or places important to people's daily lives or perhaps just to your daily life? So, important doesn't have to mean that people are going to die if they don't have it. Another thing I thought we might do even in class is compare to kind of donut places around town, like maybe Donut King versus, DG Donuts or something like that. Um, I don't think anybody could argue that donuts are like really important, but people do like desserts. They like, creative desserts, something different. And so that could be a simple way that things are important. Or you might choose something that has a little bit more importance, especially to you, as you're thinking about these things. Are these items researchable? So that you might have to take a test drive out on Google and go, type it in. If I'm comparing, donuts, I mean, is there information out there about donuts? Yeah, but I don't know if there's going to be a really good information about, especially if I'm comparing like Donut King and DG Donuts. I might want to look and see, have there been any write-ups of these things? Are there any Yelp reviews that might help me um, know more about these places? So if you're running into dead ends with research, if you go and you're looking for sources about how these things are made or how they compare to each other, maybe some other people have already done that kind of research, then it's probably good if you're finding that kind of information. If you're struggling to find information about how these things are made or the place itself or other reviews that people have done where they have like rated it or reviewed it or critiqued it, then that may not be the best, choice for a topic. And so then you want to submit all that in a Word file, 250 words minimum. So that's basically a paragraph. I think if you answer these questions, you can definitely reach that page count. So it's very short. So that's due this week, and the APA scavenger hunt is due this week. So if we go back, I do want to tell you a little bit about APA. If we go back to our week and we go to lectures and resources, that's where you can find the APA scavenger hunt. So if you open that up, just like the MLA scavenger hunt, it gives you some clues to go find sources, just like MLA. So the first one says, each year Real Clear Science releases a list of the 10 best websites for science. Go to their most current list, pick one of the websites listed, and visit it. Once there, select an article and cite it. So just like we did with our MLA list, we can go to Google and it said Real Clear Science, and I already did this before the video, that's why it's popping up for me, so just pretend I typed it in. And their most recent list is the 2016 list, and I knew that because I kind of scanned, and even when I went to their website, I found it was their most recent list. So I found the list that the scavenger hunt asked me to, and it says go to their most current list, pick one of the websites listed, and visit it. Once there, select an article and cite it. So I need to pick one of the websites listed and cite it. So I will go to, let's see, something good here. It's a blog that looks like for academics. Okay. Let's go to Live Science. That sounds interesting. And let's pick an article. Let's go to no, I don't want to join. Is it going to make me join? No. Okay, good. World's most precise clock powered by super cold strontium atoms. Oh, this is definitely scientific. So, what I first need to discern is what kind of source this is, because just like MLA, APA has a table of contents and a list of different kinds of sources, and that's how I get my models. So in order to find that, I'm going to go over here to the Little Seagull Handbook, and I'm going to open my Little Seagull to the APA section. And remember, you can do the print version too. So I'm going down here to Research, and I'm going to APA Style. And here it's got a directory. Now, this first section is about in-text documentation, but for our scavenger hunt, we want the reference list, right? Because that's what APA calls their works cited list, is references. So what I'm looking for here is not print books, because this is not a print book. I'm looking for something with online sources. So print periodicals, those are just print journals, magazines, newspapers. I'm not looking for that. Online sources, 187. This is what I'm looking for. So just like with MLA, one that will probably help you a lot is this number 21 on page 188, a work from a non-periodical website. But if you have something, that is a blog or a wiki or an online video, please see that specific entry, because it will be more, it caters more towards the information you have and how they want it formatted. But I'm going to go to that page and number 21 there. And before you even start, it probably is good to back up just to the little section on online sources, because it walks you through what some of those identifiers are. So, it says not every online source gives you all the data that APA would like to see in a reference entry. So that's good to know. Just like MLA, sometimes you may not have the information they're asking for. So most of the information that they're looking for is the author or editor's name, date of publication or most recent revision, title of document, information about print publication if there is one, and retrieval information. So this is either the DOI, which they is called the digital object identifier, or the URL. So if it gives you a DOI, which some of the more scientific academic websites will, then use that. But if not, then you want to use the URL, just like with MLA. And it says in some cases additional information about electronic publication may be required, such as the date you retrieved it. So MLA says include the access date, and they call it, instead of date access, they call it retrieval date. And they say again when to use this. So one of the things that I think is interesting is with their authors, they do it a little bit differently than MLA, of course, just to make things a little difficult. You can see down here at the bottom is that they only use initials. So even if they give you the author's whole first name, you use the last name and then the initials, or initial if they only give you, no middle name. And I think that's because with APA and science, for some reason, I remember hearing this and I tried to Google it, but I couldn't find any information. I think they're really concerned about gender bias, so they try to just put the initial there to leave out like any kind of gender discrimination. So if someone was reading a paper by D. Cruikshank, they would not know if that was a male or female, and so they would treat the information fairly and objectively. So I think that's kind of neat. I don't know if that's true or not, but that is what I've heard. You can also see that they put the date next where MLA doesn't. MLA puts usually the title of the work. So we've got a little different order for things, and that their date is not European format. It's, the year, comma, the month, and then the date, and all in parentheses. And then they've got the title of the source. And unlike MLA, which says to capitalize the first letters of major words and titles, this one basically says to go with, the title as it's published in there. And then finally, the date of the website, the title of the website italicized just like MLA. The work, though, does not have quotation marks around it, so that's a difference between MLA. And then you've got a period, and you've got retrieved from the URL. Now, again, some of these you'll see have a date, like under retrieved from. Let me see if I can find an example here. Like this one says retrieved April 3rd, 2008 from blah, 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 blah. So that APA says to put the date in if you think the information might be subject to change, but don't if you think it's not going to be changed, which I have no idea how you would know that. So I would err on the side of caution and put the date in. That's my MO, is err on the side of caution. So this would be more like, what you're looking for is something like this. So for our source, it would be something like, I'll just do this one with you for our scavenger hunt. So get rid of my numbering there. So it says I need the last name of the author. So if I go to my page, it's EMSPAC Jesse, but I don't need Jesse. Remember, I just need J. Did I spell it right? EMSPAC? Yeah, EMSPAC. Okay. And then it says that I need the date in parentheses. So for this, it's going to be 2000, I'm going to put parentheses, 2017, October 5. So 2017, October 5. And let me see, does it put a period in that? See, this is new to me, you guys. I haven't done APA in years. Okay, so then periods outside of the parentheses. So like that. And then, I hope I'm not giving you some kind of fit with this clicking everywhere. So then I put the title and then the website. So the title of this work is World's Most Precise Clock Powered by Super Cold Strontium Atoms. World's Most Precise Clock Powered by, is the B capitalized in the original? Nope, super cold strontium. I've never written that word before. Atoms. And then I think period, right? Yes, period, or they have a question mark because that's part of the title. But here, title of work, title of site, which is Live Science. I'm trying to discern whether it's really one word like this or whether it's two words, which I think it's two words. I think that's just their logo is the way they've got it. I'm just kind of looking around. Yeah, Live Science Contributor. So So then I go live science and I italicize. I think, do I need a period? My short-term memory is not so good here. Okay, so period. Italicize this because websites get italics. And then what do they have next? They have title of work, title of site, DOI or retrieved month, day, year if necessary, and then from URLs. So let me see. I don't think there's a DOI here. Let's look around. Sometimes at the bottom they might have it. Nope, I don't see anything. Sometimes it's good to look over here too.
Ready, Tim?
Oh,
Let's do
gosh,
this.
stop. How do I get out of this?
Was that Mike?
Alright, now this website knows I'm here, I think. Okay, I muted them. Okay, so I am going to copy the URL, Control C. And sorry, my short-term memory loss. What do I need to put in here? I need to put retrieved month, day, comma, year. Retrieved month, day, comma, year, the word from, and then the URL. And so there is my citation. So the only other one I want to comment on that might help you a little bit in finding your sources is that this number 2 is from a database called Medline. So you're going to have to find that through our library. So remember that you can get there by going to lssc.edu/library, clicking on databases, going to the M, and you know this is a video, so if I'm going too fast, you can just back it up and watch it again. Medline with full text. So you got to get in there. You're going to have to put in your XID and your 6-digit birth date to log in, and then it just says it says we're so connected to our phones that our fear of being without cell coverage can turn into a diagnosable medical condition called nomophobia. Oh, TIL. Nomophobia. Find and cite an article on this condition. So should be pretty easy. And just like the other databases, dental students. Oh, this looks good. Social networking sites and addiction. That sounds interesting. You could compare social networking sites. That would be interesting, right? Like Twitter versus Facebook or Instagram. Instagram versus Facebook would probably be better. Okay, here's the site button. So remember just to choose the right one though. Don't choose MLA. Don't get in your MLA mode. But here's my reference from that. And I copy and paste. And just remember that when you paste, right, that usually they give you choices. The first one keeps the green. Don't choose that. We don't want to keep the source formatting. Second one, merge formatting is what we want because that keeps the italics, but it gets rid of that weird highlighting. So we've got that. So I'm not going to go through any more of these. You are on your own. Please email me if you have questions. However, I will also be available later in the week, to meet with you. So if you have questions, perhaps I can answer them then. And the only other thing I wanted to go over with you a little bit is the assignment itself that we're working toward. Remember, that's kind of our longer view. So if we look here, you'll see analytical reports is week 8, week 9, and week 10. So we've got 3 weeks. This, final draft of this is not due until October 29th. But this is just giving you that perspective so you can say, okay, this is what this whole topic that I'm picking out is eventually going to be this analytical report, which we will talk more about when we meet. but this is just like we've had the assignment guidelines for the other ones. We're going to be using APA citation for this, and we're going to be researching using the databases and conduct original research. So we've got all of that going on. So the first thing is choose two things to compare. That's what we're doing this week. And this gives you some ideas of what you might compare, but that's up to you. And I'm going to like approve or correct as I need to when those topics come in. And then what we'll work on is choosing comparison criteria. So the criteria are things by which you will look at both things. So like if I said I was going to compare, Thai Blossom restaurant to Thai Sushi Storm restaurant, I might look at criteria such as price, um, food taste, presentation, service, portion size, um, atmosphere, all things like that. So we will, come up with anywhere from 3 to 6 criteria, and how many we use will just depend on really how many we think are relevant and how long, some criteria you can explore deeply, but price is like pretty straightforward. But something like atmosphere or taste, I might be able to go into more detail on, or, the variety of menu items, something like that. So research for this, again, we're going to find 2 sources. One must be from the internet and one from the library databases. You can use more if you need to. So conduct personal research. So if you're comparing these two things, even if you've been there before or used them before, I want you to have access to them during this assignment. So you're going to see them with different eyes. So, if you're somebody who once, had access to a MacBook and a PC, no, you need access to them, um, during the course of this assignment, because you're going to need to be taking notes on what you're doing with these things and how they react to your criteria, those kind of things when you apply them. And like the last essay, we're going to find visual elements, and then there's the design of the report, which, like I said, instead of MLA, we're using APA. And the other big difference is we're going to shift our tone because analytical reports are usually done in the sciences, and typically those reports will avoid first person. So we will not be using I, me, my, you, we, our, us, like we may have in previous writings. So that's going to be a big shift for some of you. And then we'll draft the report, and we'll talk about this section more as we get closer. I don't want to overwhelm you, and some of this you might be like, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but you will know by the time you get there, so we're not going to go into too much detail. If you want to, you can look it over, but I just don't want you to get overwhelmed. So, and it shows you here for our week is that we've got our APA scavenger hunt and topic assignment this week. Next week we'll have an annotated bibliography and rough draft, and finally peer review and a final draft. So I hope that gives you some helpful information to work on this week. And please, like I said, if you have immediate questions, email me or come visit me during office hours once I'm back on campus. Thanks, guys.